I hate spoilers, so it's super difficult to find videos or information about a new game that I want to play without it spoiling a bunch of the game for me. So in this video about Outer Worlds 2, I'm going to do my best to not spoil a single thing. You might see a couple of locations from the first hour or so of the game, but that's it. No story beats, no abilities that you're going to unlock, nothing like that. All I want to talk about in this video is Outer Worlds 2 worth playing, and is it better than the original? A massive thanks to Xbox for sending over a copy of the game early. This isn't sponsored, they haven't paid me to say anything or anything like that, but they did provide me with a free copy of the game. Right, let's get into it. Is Outer Worlds 2 good? Yes, there you go, video's done now. For a slightly more detailed answer, yes, it's better than Outer Worlds 1. I think the combat's been stepped up massively. Movement and shooting just feels much more refined. It feels like a game built for first-person shooting, which obviously it isn't. It is still an open world-ish RPG, but the shooting feels like it was at the forefront of the designer's mind. There's other ways to play. You don't have to go around shooting. You can do stealth if you want, and that doesn't feel quite as good. You know, it feels a little bit floaty when you're doing melee attacks on enemies. For some reason, they often seem to just crumple into a pile of limbs, which feels a little bit odd. That feels a little bit less polished, but if you're shooting, that all feels great. But I think the real reason people are going to want to play Outer Worlds 2 isn't really to run around and play it as a first-person shooter. The real reason you want to play it is because it's an RPG first and foremost, and that's where I think they've done a much better job than the first game. For anyone who hasn't played the first game, don't worry, you don't need to know anything about it to play this one. There's not even like a recap or anything like that. You can go into this with zero knowledge and it's absolutely fine. But for people who have played the first game, you remember that a lot of the downsides were that there wasn't much to explore really. There was normally kind of 3 or 4 locations on a planet and you would be led by the hand to each of them. And then when you were interacting with NPCs, it was always very functional. It was always about just getting the quest done. And the main story NPCs and your companions were all interesting, but outside of that, it was a little bit boring. I think in this game, they've done a good job of making the world a little bit more interesting. There's more to see outside of the main locations. There's more going on there. And every incidental NPC that I've interacted with has been interesting. They haven't just been a cliche, the sort of person that you expect from these games. They've all had something that's a little bit funny about them, or some of them even have quite tragic backstories that you can read about and find logs and stuff like that. It just feels like the writing's really been stepped up a bit, and there's a lot of care that's been put into this to try and make every moment that you're spending in the game interesting in some way. I'm not a huge fan of how the game handles choice. It definitely feels less like an immersive sim and more like just one of those RPGs where the developers have clearly laid out 2 or 3 different routes to solve different problems, and you just do one because you know how to lockpick, or one because you know how to stealth, or one because you have charm skills. The skills and perks that you have access to aren't super expansive. This isn't something like Skyrim or the Fallout games where you feel like you can really build a character in whatever way you want. Instead, you're kind of choosing between a few different archetypes, and then you're either going to specialize into one path, and that path will always be available to you, so you're not going to get stuck. Like, you're always going to have a choice to just shoot your way through, or you're always going to have a choice to talk your way out of stuff and things like that. It doesn't have an open world where you think, okay, I'm going to make some weird character build and approach problems in a really weird way. There's just not that kind of freedom in it. But what this game is missing in freedom afforded to you from having like loads of immersive systems, instead you've got polish. Like, playing through the first few quests of the game, the first few things that it kind of railroads you into doing, you can see that each one's been carefully thought through, so you have exciting moments. It feels a little bit more cinematic. I'd liken it to something like BioShock. It's a little bit more open-ended than that. Well, not open-ended, because it's more open-middled. Like, you'll start in the same place, you'll end in the same place, but you can complete objectives, like I said, in maybe 2 or 3 different ways for each thing. But because it's so polished, it feels very cinematic, it feels very exciting. And speaking to that, it is a very pretty looking game. I was running it on my PC with a 5090 and a 9800X 3D, so a super powerful rig, and with ray tracing on. It wasn't super smooth, but if I turn ray tracing off, it still looked absolutely amazing and ran absolutely fine. Maybe the ray tracing thing will be like resolved in a driver update or something like that, I'm not really sure. But if you see any of this footage looking a little bit stuttery, it's because I had ray tracing on to try and make it look pretty for you. But the end result of all of this is that yes, Outer Worlds 2 is good. Now I say good, I don't think it's great, I don't think it's going to blow anyone's minds, and if you like this sort of game, I think you're already going to know. Like if you enjoy the Fallout games, if you enjoyed the first Outer Worlds, if you liked maybe even games like BioShock as I mentioned, or Dishonored, games that have a strong story and then a little bit of kind of light RPG aspects to it, I think you're going to have a great time with this. To be honest, the best reason to play this isn't for the gameplay, it's for the writing, it's for the characters and the little stories and the humour, like it genuinely is funny. Again, I don't want to spoil anything for any of you, I'm not going to even spoil any of the jokes, but do pay attention to like item descriptions and things that you get even if you specifically buy the deluxe edition, because I think they do things with that I've not really seen before in a game. So if you're looking for some witty writing, some interesting stories, a bit of exploration, and a kind of light RPG that feels really, really good to play, really, really polished, that's exactly what the Outer Worlds 2 is, and you're gonna have a great time. If you're looking for more than that, if you're looking for the next Skyrim or the next Fallout, you know, something that's huge and expansive and you get loads of freedom, no, it's not that. It's not trying to be that, really. And while things like dialogue and looting and reading logs and all stuff like that is very reminiscent of those Bethesda first-person RPGs, the Outer Worlds 2 is quite a different thing. It's not about freedom, it's about giving you a specific experience, but one that I think's well worth having. So this was a little bit of an experiment to see how much I could talk about a game and recommend it to people without spoiling anything. Let me know how you think I did in the comments below. If you want to see more stuff like this, let me know, because I might do future sort of, not reviews, but impressions videos like this, I think, where I try to avoid spoiling it, and hopefully it won't be too vague. If you have any questions about the game, let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.